What defines an individual who appears to lack a conscience, displaying an absolute indifference to the well-being of others, societal norms, and established rules of conduct? You might immediately think of the common psychological suspects, the psychopaths and the sociopaths. Fictional characters like Buffalo Bill, Patrick Bateman, and the Joker often spring to mind, representing cinematic portrayals of profound antisocial behavior. Or perhaps you recall the notorious figures of true crime, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, and Charles Manson. While these examples illustrate extreme, well-known cases, they may not be the most relevant or realistic examples for your daily life. In fact, you may encounter individuals exhibiting these traits on a personal or professional level more often than you realize. The terms psychopathy and sociopathy are frequently confused within the fields of psychology and criminology. Though seemingly interchangeable, they actually describe conditions that differ in their characteristics and origins. Both are classified under the umbrella of Antisocial Personality Disorder, or ASPD, as they share fundamental characteristics of disregard for others' rights. However, many experts highlight critical distinctions. For example, Dr. Scott A. Bond suggests a compelling hypothesis. Psychopathy is primarily a function of genetics or biological predisposition, while sociopathy is largely a learned behavior. This distinction is key because sociopaths retain a limited capacity for empathy and can form genuine, though often manipulative, emotional attachments to specific individuals or groups. Dr. Bond proposes that experiences like childhood trauma or physical and emotional abuse are often contributing factors to the development of sociopathy. This leads us to a critical question: is it truly possible that you could personally know a sociopath? Regrettably, the answer is yes. To help you navigate these complex social interactions, here are 5 identifying characteristics that might signal you have encountered a sociopath. 1. They exhibit a profound, grandiose sense of self-worth. Sociopaths operate with an inflated sense of entitlement, believing they are inherently deserving of privileges or possessions, which they often claim as their own without justification. When confronted about their behavior, they rarely acknowledge any fault or wrongdoing in themselves. Instead, they are masters of manipulation, often reversing the narrative to cast others as the selfish or guilty party. This pervasive self-righteousness is often masked by a calculated, superficial charm, which serves as their primary tool for manipulation, creating a self-reinforcing cycle. Although they may initially seem personally attractive or charismatic, their underlying nature is domineering, as they view other people merely as tools or instruments to be exploited for their personal gratification and self-indulgence. In a professional or business context, they tend to be highly authoritarian, even becoming tyrannical when they are in a position of power. 2. They possess cunning or deceptive tendencies and a history of behavioral issues. A typical sign of sociopathy involves a documented history of academic or behavioral challenges, though they less frequently have a deep history of trouble with the law compared to psychopaths. The act of lying is so habitual for a sociopath that deception becomes an integral part of their personality structure. They are remarkably cunning and exceptionally skilled at persuasion. Paradoxically, despite their charm, they struggle significantly with establishing and maintaining close, long-term friendships. Any display of compassion from a sociopath is usually simulated rather than genuinely felt, and it is always deployed to serve a specific, calculated motive. It is important to note that they do retain a rudimentary sense of morality, unlike the true psychopath, but they seem completely satisfied and undisturbed by their own persistent antisocial behavior. 3. They are characteristically irresponsible and fundamentally unreliable. A defining trait is a sociopath's profound lack of interest in the needs, personal lives, or even the basic safety of others. They remain largely oblivious and indifferent to the damage their actions inflict, sometimes even neglecting their own safety. On a personal level, when their actions lead to negative consequences, they exhibit a tendency to immediately and unfairly assign blame to someone else, even when they are the direct cause. In both personal and professional settings, they demonstrate a significant inability to plan realistically for the future and will readily exploit others solely for personal gain, without a moment of hesitation or moral conflict. 4. They exhibit poor behavioral controls and a distinct impulsive nature. Interacting with a sociopath often means entering a turbulent cycle. Brief moments of calmness and peaceful interaction are inevitably followed by intense periods of rage that can escalate into emotional or physical abuse, which then cycle back to short periods of superficial peace. This unpredictable and volatile pattern leaves victims feeling deeply helpless. A sociopath's persistent issues with anger management frequently lead to repeated violent outbursts or assaults directed at other people, and, quite disturbingly, often against animals. Furthermore, their emotional responses are highly erratic. A situation that would justly anger a normal person may elicit no reaction from them, yet trivial or insignificant matters can trigger a disproportionate and intense outburst of rage. 5. They are fundamentally incapable of experiencing genuine guilt, shame, or remorse. The phrase, "the ends justify the means," is perhaps the most accurate description of the sociopath's ethical framework. Once a sociopath sets their mind on a goal, they have absolutely no qualms about causing devastation or harm to others if it helps them achieve that desired outcome. They will eliminate any obstacles without any subsequent feelings of remorse. This is rooted in their severely shallow emotional experiences and a fundamental deficit in empathy, which complements their aforementioned grandiose self-view. Their complete lack of guilt or remorse stems from their capacity to fully rationalize the pain and suffering they inflict on others, coupled with a genuine inability to psychologically connect with or empathize with the victim's experience of that pain. Now that you are familiar with these 5 core traits, do any specific individuals come to mind? We are committed to exploring the complexities of human behavior, and your engagement is vital to our mission. If you found this analysis insightful, we encourage you to press the subscribe button to ensure you don't miss our future explorations. Please also take a moment to leave a comment below and share your thoughts or any relevant experiences with our community. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to continuing the conversation.